You know, I once wrote in description of comic book fans, our lot loves the lavishly ludicrous. And to a degree it's true. Comic book fans love the idea that a man would travel around the world, become a ninja, a detective, and a dark knight, then come home and dress up like a bat so he can scare criminals. But sometimes ludicrously absurd things happen in comics that just defy any form of logic or expectation, and, as a result, it just comes off making the reader wonder what the hell just happened. And it's even worse when it happens in a bad comic, since then we're left to wonder what the creators were thinking of when they did it. As such, here are the top 15 WTF moments in bad comics. Number 15. Alien Plants. This was from my last video, but I'm still in shock over this. An alien comes to Earth, supposedly to study if his plants will grow in our atmosphere, gets amnesia from a whack on the head, and gangsters steal his plants to use for crime. Oh, well, that makes sense. It's just so utterly ridiculous. When I first saw that page of the alien coming out of the farmhouse, my jaw dropped through the floor. I mean, what were they thinking? Okay, here's how I see it. Gangsters used plants they stole from aliens to rob jewelry stores. Let's greenlight this, you wonderful man! Alien plants, reminding us of a simpler time in comics. Number 14. The Batmobile drives through a car and splits it in half. This one's kind of hard to explain unless you're looking closely at it. In the very first issue of All-Star Batman and Robin, the Batmobile suddenly drives through a parked cop car. I won't bore you with the details of why it's doing this, but look at that. The Batmobile drives straight through it, slicing it in half. No dents, no indication that there's a knife or something on the front of the Batmobile. It just rams into it and slices it in half. Jim Lee is a great artist, but what the heck is going on there? Where does he get those wonderful toys? Number 13. Nightblade cutting his own hand off. Another mysterious slicing incident. In Blood Pack number 1, the team is created to be part of a superhero reality TV show before reality TV had really taken off. In this scene, a director is explaining to Nightblade that television is a visual medium and therefore their entrance needs to have more pizzazz. And so Nightblade cuts his hand off. Yeah. Still, he can regenerate his limbs, so it's not that big a deal. But still, what the heck did he do that for? Nightblade. He fights crime by dismembering himself. Number 12. Black Canary as an Irish ninja. Yeah, another one from All-Star Batman and Robin. Among the many bizarre choices that Frank Miller made with the series, one of the oddest was Black Canary as an Irish woman who is apparently a ninja. Because when you think the Irish, you think ninjas.
I kick ass for the Lord!
So, ignoring the sexist character portrayal of her motivations for why she suddenly decides to go crazy with the ninja and all, it's just a bizarre moment. I mean, yes, Black Canary is a righteous ass-kicker, but why is she Irish? Why is she working behind a bar? And why is Black Canary in a book called All-Star Batman and Robin? Irish ninja Black Canary, kicking us in the love chunks each time we see her. Number 11. Any moment from Countdown to Final Crisis. It's hard to single out any one moment from Countdown as so far-reaching and ridiculous, since there are so many out there. Eventually I'll make a top 15 list of the worst moments of Countdown, but for now there's just too much competition. For those of you who are unaware of one of the worst and yet fairly recent flops in comic history, Countdown to Final Crisis was a weekly series that followed up on the far more successful and far more entertaining weekly series 52. The series was meant to lead into the event book Final Crisis and set up the major plot points, but instead just ended up meandering for 51 issues, to the point where even the characters were asking when it was going to be over. There are far too many bizarre moments and mischaracterizations, from Ratmen attacking, to Jason Todd suddenly shooting Donna Troy picking up a machine gun, or Superman Boy Asshole Prime blowing up a few worlds while screaming, "You're ruining everything!" Countdown. It's all one big WTF. Number 10. Jason Todd becomes a mutated blob. Bruce Jones probably deserves a little slack for his poor run on Nightwing. The original editorial dictate was that Dick Grayson was going to die in Infinite Crisis, and that Jason Todd was going to become Nightwing. However, this plan was scrapped at the last minute, and Bruce Jones was forced to rewrite his story, leading to a bizarre tale that has been universally derided. But even that slack doesn't forgive this WTF moment. A metahuman blob swallows Jason Todd, the second person to bear the name Robin, and somehow this ends up mutating his body so he can become a person-swallowing blob too. This is the reason why alcohol was invented. Jason Todd is The Blob, a film by John Carpenter. Number 9. The Goddamn Batman. If you haven't heard of this one yet, what kind of a comic reader are you? Frank Miller's deservedly panned All-Star Batman and Robin is rich in unintentional insanity. at least when it started. Nowadays, he has apparently decided it's satire, even though originally it was never marketed as such. Its most enduring phenomenon shall always be from issue 2, where Batman in name only utters the immortal words, "What, are you dense? Are you retarded or something? I'm the goddamn Batman!" It doesn't even sound like anything Batman would ever say. It's like something Dave Chappelle would have made up. "I'm the goddamn Batman, bitch!" The goddamn Batman. Not Batman, but a poorly written, shocking imitation. Number 8. Jack, the clone of Spider-Man. Was this character in any way necessary? What was the thought process that went into him? Hey, we need a character to provide exposition, so why don't we make him a clone of Peter Parker, except small and annoying? That's a brilliant idea. This will be the most celebrated saga in Spider-Man history. Okay, admittedly, I know that the real creators weren't like that, but I just don't get it. Why did we need some short clone of Peter Parker who dresses up like the Jackal? What is the point? What is the freaking point? And why the hell did he leap onto Ben Reilly's head and start humping it? I mean, why? Jack, hopefully suffering from clone degeneration in comic book hell. Number 7. Batbaby's physics. Now, being a comic book fan, I'm no stranger to something as ridiculous as a machine that turns adults into children. And while I don't really see the appeal of adult superheroes being turned into children, there obviously was a market for it back in the Silver Age. My problem, however, is when the physics of it all just get so frickin' stupid. After Batman becomes Batbaby, he retains the strength of his adult form. And I can even see this happening with magic, but this was due to a device built by the mad scientist Garth. Yeah, seriously, a mad scientist named Garth. It was technology that did it. How the hell do you have someone who's regressed into the physical body of a 4-year-old, but somehow has the upper body strength of a 30-year-old? Batbaby. He makes science cry. Number 6. US 1's Silver Dollar Remote Control. Here's an obscure one I doubt anyone will recognize. US 1 was a Marvel comic about a truck driver who drove around in a souped-up semi, aptly titled US 1. It was full of poor writing and the premise was ridiculous. The main character, Ulysses Solomon Archer, no, I'm seriously not making that name up, that is really the character's name, was injured after a mysterious villain drove he and his brother off the road. He somehow afforded a complex brain surgery that replaced part of his skull with a new metal. After learning that this metal allowed him to hear CB radio transmissions, he decided to use this to hunt down his brother's killer. And so he upgrades his rig into a technologically advanced super rig with radars and weapons and the like. But the most patently ridiculous part of this is a remote control he has for the truck. That's inside of a silver dollar. And next he'll teach us how to put a TV remote inside of a quarter. Or how about a gun inside of a nickel? For God's sakes, this was written in the early 80s. Apple had just released the Lisa computer. This was the extent of computer technology. Yet this loser can build a remote control for his truck and fit it inside a silver dollar? The silver dollar remote control. Not even James Bond films get that silly. Number 5. Brick's spontaneous combustion in Doom's 4 number 2. Yeah, this one's another one that I commented on recently, but it deserves a second look. In one panel, Brick is just standing in a weird position over his kids, and then in the next panel, he explodes. No explanation is offered beyond him being clumsy. Clumsy about what, though? Did he trip? If he touches something, does his body just fall apart? Is his blood nitroglycerin, and if he doesn't walk around like a fashion model, his body just kablooms? Brick's spontaneous combustion. Few times have there ever been such a failure in sequential storytelling. Number 4. Stan Lee's cameo in Nightcat number 1. Yeah, Stan Lee, who wrote this boring little comic about a singer called Nightcat, who got such awesome cat powers like climbing walls and driving in a stupid-looking car and wearing electrical tape on her arms. Yeah, she's real cat-like. But the most shocking thing in this comic is that Stan Lee writes himself into the comic, offering to write a comic about her. What kind of weird-ass Grant Morrison's Animal Man deconstruction, metafiction, postmodern bullcrap is this? It doesn't contribute anything to the story. It's just this bizarre 4-panel interlude where Stan Lee writes himself in and tells her he wants to make a comic out of her. What was the freaking point? Stan Lee, co-creator of Spider-Man and full creator of Stan Lee. Number 3. Die Hard's Crotch Attack. Where would horrible comics be without Rob Liefeld? The man inspired an entire generation of terrible artwork and even more terrible writing. On the subject of his artwork, though, one panel in particular has continued to capture my imagination and wonder just what the hell was he thinking ever since I saw it in my very first text recap of Youngblood number 1. The robotic character known as Die Hard, with a vengeance, suddenly flies in and assaults some random huge Liefeld villain known as Strongarm. And he does so with his crotch! I mean, look at it! I'm sure the implication was that he hit him with his arms, but his arms look like he folded them back. His legs are equally out of the way of the hit, and his crotch has been detailed so that it's bulging out. In addition, the arc of blood from Strongarm's mouth points towards the crotch's location. Live free or Die Hard's crotch. It's a simple choice. Number 2. The alchemy machine in Sultry Teenage Super Fox's number 1 that turns dog poop into gold. The alchemy machine in Sultry Teenage Super Fox's number 1 that turns dog poop into gold. An alchemy machine that turns dog poop into gold. Folks, that just says it all. By the way, in case you're wondering, the government decides not to fund such a machine because it's too theoretical. They turned dog poop into gold! And the number 1 bad comic book WTF moment is Snowflame. Just Snowflame. From New Guardians number 2, Snowflame is, depending on how you look at him, either the worst villain ever created or the awesomest villain ever created. Snowflame is the man powered by cocaine. Seriously, his entire shtick is that he snorts cocaine and it gives him powers. What's even better is that the cocaine creates some of the coolest lines of dialogue ever uttered in a comic book. I am Snowflame. Every cell of my being burns with white-hot ecstasy. Cocaine is my god, and I am the human instrument of its will. You see before you a man on fire, a man who craves any excuse to burn brighter. I burn with thought, accelerated thought generated by my fantastically heightened mental senses. I feel no pain, although I relish your feeble attempts to inflict it. Snowflame feels no pain. Snowflame is the head priest of the Church of Cocaine. No, I take it back. Snowflame is a true god. He is quite literally the crackiest character in all of bad comics, and right-wise, his appearance sparks the most WTFs out of anything I've ever seen. What the hell were they thinking when they invented this guy? Sadly, Snowflame passed away in the very same issue he debuted in, but not to drug overdose, oh no. He was killed in battle, having been blown up by a shack containing gunpowder and dynamite that someone had for some reason placed right next to his pool. It made sense at the time, because he was high. I salute you, Snowflame. You are just one big crack-snorting WTF.
What the fuck was that? Fact or merely a hallucination? What the fuck was that? Demons are my new pet peeve. What the fuck was that? Something that would kill for recreation. What the fuck was that? Come on, Ash, let's just leave.